Hello. I'm not good at this. I mean, streaming. This is like second time in my life, so I need some feedback whether you guys can hear me or not. One, two, three. Yep. Awesome. All right. We have still 1 minute. Should we wait? All right. Let's start. I want to thank all of you for joining. It's an honor. And few years ago, when I was starting this hobby project to play with my friends, I didn't expect that it would blow up to be of this size. And I'm really grateful to all of you players and supporters and everybody who's helping us that this could happen. And the format will be as follows. The center or other moderators will be reading the chat because I cannot do that and speak at the same time and selecting questions for me. But before we go into that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the retail model. I think that's the hot topic that everybody's eager to hear about, and also the timing of this Q&A is not an accident. That's kind of how we wanted to do that. There's a lot of, I would say, anticipation. So we need to clear things out. And then I want to talk about some other features that me and Koronis were able to think of that we could add to the game, and I'm looking forward to hear your feedback to that. There seem to be questions about whether we can have translation in real time. I don't know, to be honest. Is that something you get real time with YouTube? Maybe the center can look into that. Okay, so let's start. So regarding the retail modeling, basically throughout, I think throughout the whole existence of the game, a lot of players were saying that the industries are not balanced, and that was correct. I was trying to put in bias towards industries that are more complex, like cars or aerospace, and that may not have been the right choice. Hard to say, but I think we enjoyed the game so far. And last year, I think in November, I wrote an article saying that we need a different retail model. We need everything to be. Basically, my view is that everything can be profitable if there is high demand for it. So I want the sim companies to be about looking for opportunities. And a lot of new players kind of intuitively went into the encyclopedia and looked at, okay, I can see that I don't know, apples are in high demand or the underwear is in high demand. So there should be a lot of money and I should be creating that. So they built a pipeline and then they realized, okay, maybe you can make more money in something else. In something like aerospace, which on the other hand had non-existent demand. So this was not ideal, and I always thought that this was a little bit of a defect in the game, and also the game where you basically start with one industry and then everybody kind of shifts towards the one and only aerospace is also not a good game. It's not about being a good businessman and looking for opportunities. It's just everybody doing the same thing. So this is what we were trying to fix. And basically, some of the other things we're working on, like seasonal content and seasonal industries, I want to talk about later, kind of plays into this. And the retail model was prerequisite. So basically, how we were modeling retail before was that the input to the time to sell, it's kind of the function that defines how quickly things can get sold and what your profit would be, what your hourly profit would be, which is the more important thing than the profit per unit. And what we did was we took price and quality and came up with time. And we were using quadratic functions for this, and this sort of worked, but we couldn't model some things that were selling slowly, specifically cheese and chocolate and some of the cars where this wasn't really fitting correctly. Aerospace had completely different model. And what we did now, we turned it around. We kind of know what the profit should be, the hourly profit. And we have a function that goes backwards and counts what the time to sell should be. So this is what we are using. And this is how the new model works. And I can write more more articles about it if anybody's interested in the math. But basically, that's the idea. And what we're gonna do for all products in all industries is that there is a low boundary of profit, which is zero, and a high boundary of profit, which only looks at how many buildings for how long time are used in the whole process. So when you look at something like apples, you produce 200 apples on a farm, then you sell 200 apples in the grocery store. You use two buildings, level one, for 2 hours, and there should be a certain profit for that. And for cars, the same thing. The same thing applies. It's just you will need a lot more buildings for a lot longer time, so even the profit would be higher. But basically, if everything's equal, if everything's perfectly equal, the saturation of the market is 100%, and all your buildings are running all the time perfectly, then there should be constant profit per building per level. And if this is out of balance, if something is highly saturated or something is in high demand, then the profits would be higher. So that's the goal. We want sim companies to be about looking for opportunities. We want players who can read the markets, who can basically see that, okay, I estimate that fashion will be in high demand in 2 months, then probably that's where I should move. This is also why we were waiting for the building auctions to happen, because that allows players to be pivoting more quickly and efficiently. So having said that, that's kind of the goal, and I'll take a look at the questions. Oh, there's one, whether this is being recorded and will be available. Basically, that center last time did a great editing work and put tags and notes and cut out all my and from the video. So there's gonna be a edited recording available. So let's look at the questions. So Damun Kav, one of our supporters, asked, will producing and selling speed increase, decrease based on whatever moment the leading industry is? So the selling speed is basically driven by what the demand is. So yes, the producing speed is not changing. That's changed actually by the economic cycles. So if apples is the least sold amount of any good to compensate for the big difference between BFR and apples within the same time frame, does that mean both the amount of apples and the price of apples sold to PIMS both increase? I'm not sure I understand this. So they are independent. Basically, based on the levels of buildings in the game, which kind of defines the size of our population, the size of our infrastructure, there is a specific demand for BFRs and specific demand for apples. And if more apples are sold than this amount, then the saturation, market saturation will grow. And if less is sold, then it will go down. And same for BFRs. So second question from Carbon Nano, another of our supporters. Is sim companies finished, quote unquote finished, or are there any major changes planned? So yes, sim companies is, I believe, feature complete in a way that it's already a huge game with a lot of depth, but we will be adding more stuff. We realize that it can be even more fun if things are changing a little bit more often. So I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later. But yes, we have stuff we want to do. Sweet Potato asked, our supporter and moderator, will different quality of the same product affect the product saturation? So this is great question. The saturation is counted regardless of the quality. So even selling Q0 cheese will be able to saturate the market. However, how the new modeling is done right now, the high quality items are being kind of sold slower with higher profit, which means that if you are a high quality producer, if you're selling high quality products, you are less likely to saturate the market. So it's good for you. So fourth question, CMOT Dibbler, our supporter asked, how much do you expect aerospace industry to shrink with the new update? Currently, the saturation is 500%. That's correct. Last time I checked. Does that mean that 4 out of 5 players will be out of business when the updates is independent fully? So, I mean, yes and no. For aerospace to be profitable, we need saturation below 200%. At the same time, three-quarters of the aerospace pipeline, which is like the mining and factories and all these buildings and power plants, can be easily transferred into cars or electronics. So yes and no, there are changes coming, but it's true that many of the aerospace, especially the higher pipeline or the sales offices, will have to change business. I was following the kind of the hysteria that's happening right now, and honestly, the change is being rolled out very slowly, and the reaction is extreme and fast at the same time. I mean, right now, if I was playing, I would be buying sales offices because you can get them extremely cheaply, and people will want to sell their aerospace stock and also basically quickly burn through the kind of higher aerospace products that are uh, assembly components for the latest products because the prices are still great. The prices are still high, and there's a lot of money to be made by doing aerospace right now, I think, because you can get all the infrastructure for free, and people are desperate to sell those. So, I mean, in general, even in real life, even in games, there are changes, there are market disruptions. And if you are, I don't know, lucky or intelligent, you can make a lot of money on it. Um, if not, then you can lose money. But what that's good about sim companies is that nobody's actually losing anything. Um, you can always build more buildings in a different industry. So it's not life and death situation, but I would look at it as an opportunity. But at the same time, we have oversaturated aerospace, and there will be changes. So I guess it's up to everybody how we're gonna ride this wave. So Humblebee, our supporter, asked, when discussing market saturation of any given product balanced against the total building levels in the server, are all industries weighted equally, or is there any sort of weighting to allow some industries to be larger than others? Right. So basically, what we do, we look at how many building levels are needed to produce, I don't know, let's say an Apple or a BFR, and we split all the buildings on the server by basically by number of industries, which depending how you count is 6, I believe. And then if you take the sixth of all building levels, we look at we split this further by product, and that's the amount of BFRs or apples that is needed for the market to be saturated. So right now, if everything was equal, if we wanted 100% saturation in all products, the equal one, then it would be split by sixth, and we would want sixth of the buildings to be in aerospace, sixth of the buildings to be in food, sixth of the buildings to be restaurants, and so on. Sorry, in the fashion, for example. Um, so the sixth question, Demon Boss Army asked, will restaurants be affected by this nerf or not? Um, Not explicitly. Basically, restaurants are already self-balanced in a way that if too many players are doing it, the profits drop, and that's what we want everywhere. So there's no direct change needed for restaurants. I think it needs a little bit of balancing, like between economy and the luxury restaurants, or basically within the restaurant business, there is space for balancing, but it's not on the table right now, and we're not touching it. There are already changes happening. Seventh question from Postenbras Lux. Patrik, first and question. How are you doing and how is the team doing? Are you happy with the progress, the success, and overall popularity of the game so far? A lightweight question. Thank you. This is the first one that's not about the retail changes. So basically, I'm not sure like if everybody noticed like in game industry there are tough times after COVID. For some reason during COVID, a lot of games were growing, including same companies, and a lot of mobile games were doing well, and they hired more people and built more games. And now there's correction happening for the last year, and even in Prague, at least 2 game studios folded because basically there's less money to be made, and the acquisition is harder. So being in game industry is really tough right now, but sim company, since we have since you're very loyal players, and we also added sim companies to Steam, which quarter of our players are now found us through Steam. That helped a lot. We were able to like survive, or not survive, but I mean we're doing okay. You notice that the player base is not growing, but we're also not shrinking either. So I'm happy with this state. There were 3 engineers in our team, plus a lot of other people who are helping out. I mean, thank you to our moderators and the center who helps a lot with marketing as well. So the team is doing well. One of the engineers is not with us anymore. Basically, we had to part ways, but I'm trying to hire a third one. If you're interested, let me know. We're looking for full stack developer, but at the same time, I want him to be local. Like, doesn't have to be in Prague directly, but maybe not further than 100 kilometers. So it's not for everyone, but because I know we have a global community. But I'm trying to hire a third engineer so we can do stuff faster. And we're in good shape at the moment. There is no, I mean, there's nothing really burning under our hands that we would need to be fixing, like performance issues or stuff like that. And supports also doesn't have too much traffic. So we are able to concentrate on new features at the moment, and I'm hoping that. Well, I'm not sure how the summer will be. There's a lot of vacations, but soon after we should start showing something. So eighth question from Eruvador. Do I get the correct that the new way of playing this game is to replace all buildings regularly to the productions which are the best in the moment? Yes, I think this is correct. Although I think we need to talk more about what does it mean regularly. Right now, the demand, the saturation really quickly reacts to how fast are things selling, and I want to slow this down kind of considerably. I want the reaction. I want the market saturation reaction to how fast are things selling to be much slower, so that when you see that okay, fashion is now good, and you start moving the direction that it's gonna stay that way for not like 3 or 4 days, but it will stay like that for weeks. So so we will have to play with this. I did not slow the reaction time down yet because I want the aerospace to be dropping down quickly, not slowly. I mean, if it was deployed right now, maybe we would have aerospace in 500% saturation for a long time, and that's not desired. So I'll be monitoring the data and adjusting this as we move towards the new model. But yes, ideally, I think a good business game would be about looking for opportunities and switching between them rather than just moving to one sector and then just milking that. So ninth question from Exiled 4D Poll. So high quality means more profit now, where before higher didn't give any difference in for most retail. So yes, this is one of the problems I wanted to fix with the new model, and based on my modeling, the quality should matter from 1 to 12. So I think this is an improvement. 10th question from King Pierre. Hi, why does the saturation is not affecting the retail selling prices for non-AS and non-resto industries, but rather affecting just the selling speed? It's hard to build a big map for those industries. Let's me. I'm not sure if I'm reading this right. Right. So it's retail selling prices versus retail selling speed. So these two are connected because the selling speed is modeled based on the price you put in. So it does affect this. I'm not sure if I'm reading. I mean, why would we ask this? The idea is that the higher retail price you put in, the slower the speed. But at the same time, if the saturation is low, you should be able to put really high retail price without compromising on the speed that much. So I think we just need to wait for the new model to kick in a little bit more. But in general, the new model, like if you have Q12 cars and the saturation is low, you would be able to sell per unit for like twice or three times as much as you were before. So this is definitely changing, and you would be able to make a lot of money in lower saturated industries. So question from Astia. Question on staff. Can we get a way for staff to not automatically accept a higher wage and leave? If they get a certain amount of pay rises, they are happy and stay, maybe? So this is about executives, I imagine. Um, I like that the wages are player driven, are market driven. Because otherwise, I would need to be coming up with algorithms saying that okay, if CFO is this good skill, this money should be enough, and I don't want to do that. I know this is highly controversial, and it's been a problem for many players. And I know that those who are poaching are saying that the poaching is too hard. I should make it more simple. And those who are losing executives that are being poached are saying that poaching is too easy and it should be more difficult. So that kind of tells me that we are in the middle, and that's probably what we want. Uh, basically this way, I want it to be as everything else to be market driven, and this is the way to do it. Basically, who pays more gets the executive, and that makes sense to me from like the capitalism perspective. 12th question from Mr. V. Will we have chart screens to reflect the saturation, live screens updated daily for each product market? So this is already available in the encyclopedia, but I'm thinking of adding an article into the newspaper that would nicely show the trends and also compare the industry side by side. So there is room for improvement because this is going to be vital, I think. Question from MSD07. Can you clarify what will be the impact on aerospace when new retail model will come? As of now, many players are saying that aerospace will destroy completely when new retail model will come in. I think there's a lot of hysteria. Actually, when I was looking at jumbos and I was looking at BFRs because some of the players were saying that the prices are too low even right now. Basically, if it's not saturated, the buyout prices will be even higher than they are right now. So it's definitely not gonna be that. What's gonna happen is it's gonna balance, but if like everybody leaves aerospace and the saturation drops to zero, it's gonna be way more profitable than it was before the changes. So it's going to be about the balance. It's going to be about timing. It's going to be about selling the right product at the right time. We're definitely not killing aerospace. I like rockets way too much for that. Question 14. Kaluana II, probably. Is it better to create contracts with government and other situations than aggregate other segments rather than affecting the aero sector? I'm not sure I understand that question. Okay, next question from Astia. How would this affect power production? Is it viable to just produce power only with the new model? I think power production might be one of the things that's not affected at all. Because power is the base for any product we're producing, and we'll need to produce products regardless of where you sell them. So yeah, I think power producers can rest assured there's nothing changing. Question from Bitwise. Are there more quality of life updates planned, and what happened with the future contracts? Right. So quality of life updates will be happening all the time. Even right now, we're testing a new menu. It's not like overall change like we did a few years ago. It's just like icons and colors update. And we will be continuing those. We have a long list of quality of life updates, and we'll try to kind of intervene them with adding new mechanics. We also want to work a lot more with animations. First of all, we're a game, but in a lot of the times it can simplify the UI and make it more, how to say it, more intuitive. Like when you get money and you see that like something moves towards the bar on the right and you see the money like coming up, then you know what happened rather than just clicking on an icon that disappears. So there is a lot of room in here, and we will be doing these things all the time. And the last part of that question was what happened with the future contracts. So basically, we had a discussion. You can find it on Reddit, and we were thinking of things, how to do it, how not to do things, how to implement it, how to basically pinpoint the mechanics of that feature, and there was a lot of opposition. Like a lot of players were saying they wouldn't use it at all. So we thought we have better things we can be doing. And current state is that it's dropped. It's not on the table anymore, and we're not doing it. Question from King Peer. When the saturation for AS is 100%, will the profits be roughly the same as right now? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. It should be close to what it is right now, but I would need to check on that because we're using different method there. Question 18 from Akansh M. Would there be any career opportunities as for sim companies, mainly related to data science or analyst? Yes, as mentioned, we are looking for an engineer, but locally, and data science background is something we're looking at as well. Question 19 from Deceiver Imagination. How would we compare demands and supplies of products based on new retail models so that we could select between industries? So, well, the new model, like the old model, was perfectly reverse engineered and broken down, and people could write their own calculators. I don't think it happened with the new model, and I'm not going to encourage it. Like, if that happens, that happens, but I do not want the game to be explicit in that way. I mean, there should be amount of guessing, and I'm perfectly okay if the calculator is not available. So you can definitely see the saturation in the encyclopedia, but you don't need to have exact numbers of the new model. And there's going to be somebody clever who's going to open the JavaScript code and find out basically exactly how we're counting things. But as far as I know, that did not happen yet. This is the last question I see at the moment. I'm sure there will be more, and I'm gonna talk about the new features we are planning. So one of them is the seasonal industries that we hinted about. Uh, I would say that new industry is the most requested thing we get. It's usually either pharmaceutical or ships or arms and defense sector. In general, I don't want a game with weapons, so we're not going to do that one particular. But I also, at the same time, do not want the exchange to have thousands of resources. I don't think it adds depth to the game when it's just more images and it's the same stuff otherwise. But what we want to do is we want to do more seasonal stuff like we have with Christmas ornaments or Christmas crackers. But these would have more buildings, and they would have their own buildings, their own production pipelines, and we would also have ideally different retail mechanics for them. Example could be selling ice cream during the summer, or selling bicycles in the spring, or something like that. And these items would be sellable throughout the whole year. It's just the demand would be a lot lower. So what I would want is that throughout the year of sim companies, there will be different seasonal items coming in and out of fashion, and basically you could decide to make money on that or leave it be. So it would be something more dynamic, and when a player comes for the first year, he would have new stuff all the time. And we're thinking we'll be cycling through that. So like one summer would be ice cream, the next summer would be bicycles or something like that. So we can have new content for 2 years. And this we will be adding as the time progresses. And the new retail model was, as I mentioned, prerequisite for this. So you can expect more buildings and more resources, but at the same time, it won't be like everything's there all the time. It will be seasonal. So that's one of the things we want to add. And the second one is a challenge realm. this was a great idea from Karinis, and the idea is that we would add temporary realm, which will have completely different game mechanics, and it would be more like contest-like. So one of the ideas was that there would be a realm for only 3 months, and the idea would be that you have to launch a BFR to space as fast as possible. We would like play with the game mechanics. We would be mainly switching them off. For example, there could be a contest that you have to launch a BFR to space as fast as possible, but there would be no trading, no exchange, no contracts, no bonds, and you would get cash up front. So it would be about doing the computation or doing some sort of like thinking exercise, which buildings to build first, how to switch, whether to build one because it can explode or already prepare materials for the second one. And this could be replayable. So during those 3 months period, you can try multiple times. And at the end, we would have a ranking, and the first player would get, I'm not sure. Well, would get a certificate would make sense, but that would disappear with the realm. So we were thinking maybe a collectible or something as a token that was the best player who could win this challenge realm, and that would stay within his main companies. And then in next 3 months we could do a different challenge realm where you're building restaurants or something. So the key is that it would be basically single player. It would be more fast paced, and it would be replayable. So that's what we're thinking. And I'm gonna do a poll. I'm gonna describe both of these in our future development article, and I'm gonna do a poll where you can vote which one you like more. And also for the seasonal content, we still don't have ideas for all the things we can do, the seasonal industries. As I mentioned, ice cream and bicycles, but we need something for winter. We need something for festivals, like obviously Christmas or Hanukkah or Ramadan. So there's, I'm sure that you players will be able to come up with a lot of content for brainstorming here. Okay, let's check whether we have more questions from the center. Question from Kaluana II. Is NPC still necessary? In what sense? I'm not sure, but the NPC does a lot of things. I'm gonna assume that this relates to the market, and it probably is, just to make sure that the tutorial players can buy seeds and nobody can mess with that. But I understand that it's not used much, and that's also good, because if players are producing seeds, then they should have priority over NPC doing the same thing. A question from Juan Gomez. API endpoints for the new retail models will not be available then? Well, they kind of are already available. We're using the new model. It's working, so they're in there. I'm not going to document them or make them like specifically easily usable, but we of course we have endpoints for them. Question from this year Imagination. How do we predict the future demand of products of industry we are going to invest? I need to know whether it's worth it or not to invest in an industry for long term. Yes, I don't know how we're going to predict. Basically, you just need to, I guess, be on the chats, see what's happening, see the trends, and see what players are doing, and you want to do something else. Question from Kenneth. Hypothetically, if everything being equal to 100%, say between apples, oranges, grapes, all selling as in retail, will have the same amount of profit? Yes. Basically, the profit per building per level that's used in the pipeline should be equal. and that's not only between it's not only equal between products within the food industry, but within all products. So even if you had a economy e-car in the list, it would be the same. So question from MD Mars. Have you planned to add credit line to players like real world example producers give credit for 30 days to retailers? Um, I would need to find out how this works. I imagine the idea is that you give them the products but do not expect to be paid for 30 days. Generally, being in depth is difficult in games like this because players can stop playing and it's difficult to get the money back then. And I also am not sure whether we need this. You can already get credit through bonds. So there are no plans right now for this. But maybe if you can post it on the forum and make a case for it, like why is it needed and why does it make the game better, then and how we solve some of the issues that come up with having it, then we can definitely think about it. A question from Lei Yongchun: how is retail saturation calculated? Right, I mentioned this few times, but since this is kind of important, I'll do it. I'll do it again. Basically, we compare how many apples or any product or cars our population needs and whether the retail sold more or less. If less cars are delivered than sold in retail than the population needs, the demand goes up. And otherwise, if more cars are being sold, then the demand goes down. And now the question is, how do we know what's the amount of needed cars in the server? And that's based on the number of levels of buildings in the server, because that kind of reflects of how many players we have. Question from Kingpeer: what do you think about the maritime industry, the way it was designed by player in the forum? I think it was very good design, and we're gonna look at it for inspiration. I think fish could be a great seasonal product. I know very little about fishing, but I would assume that there are seasons there as well when it's good to be fishing a certain kind of fish. So maybe we can use that to our advantage. Well, it seems we ran out of questions again. Hmm. The center is already typing. Question from Eruador. What do you think about a new retail storage building where you can sell non-end products like carbon fiber or sand? Um, I think it would be possible, but then I guess the question would be where you get more profit. It would make think as a player, you would then have to decide whether you sell your sand in the store or you sell it to a player for building something higher up. And I think it would just cap prices for the products further up. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I guess it's possible in principle, but I have no plan to add something like this right now. Question from JP. Any chance you could add limit buy orders to the exchange? Right. So this is a good one. And the buy market, the buy side of the market was being questioned a lot of the times. Uh, I have nothing against it in principle. I think it would make the game better. The problem is the UI is difficult because already it's kind of crowded for the exchange, and having the buy side would make it more difficult. And in the other game, I'm working on the Sim Energy Empire. We have a buy market as well, and it's extremely confusing for everyone who plays it. So um, maybe I would be thinking that maybe make it, but it's hidden, so the buy orders, limit buy orders would be there, but nobody would see them or something like that. So it doesn't convolute the UI, but at the same time, the functionality is there for those who seek it out. So there are options. Again, not on the table in the short term, but this is something that we can do in the future. Since I mentioned Sim Energy Empire, and maybe not everybody's familiar with it, it's another project that I was working on for a while, and currently it's in closed alpha testing, or how to call it. So it's a new game that's not finished, and it's invite only, and there's like maybe 30 people playing, and you can join Discord if you want to play it in the future. Overall, it should be game for very similar audience. It's a game that I would like to play, like this one. So it's also a business simulator, but with energy trading, and it's more heavily simulating the trading part. So we have, as mentioned, the market of both sides. We also have commodity futures commodity market, and it's less, I would say, Sim Command is a little bit more arcade. This one is a little bit more simulation. So we'll see how it goes. Question from Timber Syracuse. Why is the coffee emoji forbidden in chats in sim companies? I didn't know it was forbidden. Does it look like something else, perhaps, and it's used in a bad way? I don't know. I don't know. I would like to. I wanted to look into that. Question from Kenneth. What's the timeline be like to roll out these changes in both servers? Oh, this is a good one. So what I was thinking was that my original thinking was that we'll be changing the weight from the old retail model to the new one at 10% a week. So we would be done in 10 weeks, basically in 2 months after the summer. But at the same time, this seemed to be too fast to people and players who I talked about, and we decided to go 5% at the time. But then we decided to have two different timelines for aerospace and the rest. So right now the thinking is to do 5% at a time in aerospace, while 10% at the time in everything else. So the aerospace would be dropping in profit slower than everything else would be rising in profit. So at some point, both should be kind of profitable. So and we should be on a new model for all of the rest of the retail by the end of summer, while the aerospace will have much slower move, and that should take then 2 weeks basically. And while I'm saying this is the current plan, but I may decide to change it if we see that things are moving too slow or too fast. We can adjust this. This is the beauty of it, so we can look at what's realistically happening and adjust based on that. But yeah, basically tomorrow we should be moving magnates to where entrepreneurs is right now, and we should be moving entrepreneurs one step further. So that would be 10% in aerospace and 20% in everything else. So question from Mr. V. So the population is the actual players playing on the servers, or is it virtual population and growth with the economy? So I assume this is the population that drives the units needed and the saturation, and that's basically not the number of players, but number of levels of buildings of active players. Because you can have a player that has 2 buildings, and you can have a player that has 8 buildings of level 20. So we're modeling for that. Question from Levelho. Would it be possible to make the buyer-seller tax in the direct contracts market show online players first? Currently, they only show the same players, and they're almost always offline. I'm not sure we can easily filter by online offline. I can look into that. This would make sense to me, and I'll make a note. If it's possible, we should do that. That's a good quality of life suggestion. Thank you. Question from Zeus Anderson. Hi, regarding the saturation calculation, please, is it just the market that is used or the retail buildings as well? So the saturation calculate, it's all buildings in the game. Bitwise is asking, can we know how much is that ideal profit per building per level in the pipeline with 100% saturation? You mentioned about that. I'm not gonna say. I'm not. I'm not gonna say that, but I'm sure somebody will dig it out from the code. King Pierre is asking, are there any plans to make major changes for the executive feature? P.S. Adding more Simbu staff slot would be awesome. Really? Do we need more staff slots? I mean, this would be an easy change. Yeah, that we can do. Benzimini 9000 is asking, will ideas from Synergy Empire also be implemented into Sim companies? For example, market credit for long-term contracts? Um, I don't see why not. Like, if we see that something we did nice in Sim Energy Empire and it works, we can put it into Sim companies. I'm not sure whether this one is the right thing to move, but in general, yeah, like already the menu that we did in Sim Energy Empire was inspired by Sim companies. So we'll try to reuse components where possible and also good game mechanics. Question from Ryan Andrews. Have you ever thought about adding a bond market where we can sell bonds we have purchased on bond exchange? Right. Yeah, that was my idea at the beginning to have a secondary market, but then I didn't think that it would be actually that of a interesting feature. Generally because there's a lot of bonds available all the time directly from the players, and this would make it more confusing. But yeah, it's one of those things that yeah, we could have it. I see nothing against it, but I'd rather add seasonal industries because I think that that would make more people happy than a feature like this. A question from Akansh M. Any chance for individual building trading like contracts? Um, Not really. I think that would make cheating a lot easier, and you can already trade buildings. So I don't see. I see negative. I don't see benefit here. Question from DC Information. DC Imagination. Sorry, I'm not sure whether I was reading it correctly before. Could there be moving animations added to buildings and music added to sim companies? So moving animations, probably. We're looking into that. And the music, we already tried. We had company produce a lot of sounds for us, and we tried to integrate them. I think you can even switch them on, but we did not see. There were issues with it. First of all, we did not see that it would help conversion, so it wasn't something that would help us bring more players. And at the same time, there were issues with it on some of the devices like iOS, so it wasn't even 100% compatible. And I think we still want to do them, but at the same time, as mentioned in the last question, the benefit, the positiveness is not too obvious, and it's a lot of work. It's actually unknown amount of work, which is the worst way. We don't know what it takes to make it compatible with all the devices. So it could be 2 engineering days, it could be a month. So we're not working on this actively. But yeah, like sound would be nice. It's one of those things. Basically, I'm hoping we get around to do. Timber Syracuse is asking, Patrick, while we're talking about sim energy, could you tell us a little bit about traders? Um, I'm not gonna basically talk about Synergy game features because the audience here is here for sim companies, and that would be a different topic. DC Reimagination asking, would there be an option of investing in shares of other companies with dividends to be received? Not really. We were considering it. Again, this is similar to the future contracts. The way I come up with how it could work wasn't appealing to players. So um, I think why companies even sell shares, it's to raise capital. Basically, you want to have money to work with. You have your angel investors, and that's all great. And we have bonds for that. The bonds are usually easy to sell. So if you want financing, you can have it. So the shares would not be helping in this regard. And so then the question is, why would we have shares? And if it's just to like play around and see things growing, then that's also kind of difficult because all our companies are growing until the player stops playing. So basically, investing any shares would be profitable. So that even wouldn't be challenging or fun. So anyway, if you put together again, if you go to the forum and put together a way, a mechanics where the shares would make sense, wouldn't be wouldn't be like easy for dupes to transfer money around, and it would be appealing to players. It would be challenging. It would be a nice mechanic. Then yeah, we should have it. But I couldn't do that. Antonis AP is asking, would you guys consider implementing an order system like SO in other retail buildings, or maybe a rating system like Restos? So I like that our new industries have different mechanics, and I'm hoping for the seasonal industries to follow suit and to be somehow different. So uh, there's no plan to be changing the retailing way of our existing industries, but for the new ones, I'm hoping we'll have different retail mechanics for them, or at least like a different flavor of what we have to make them more interesting. Okay, don't see more questions. Question from Láďa Vondráček. What about the next sales channel like eShop? The players will display products with a price and others will come to him to buy. So this is like what we have now, but with image of a resource. I don't know, like sort of like the display case you have on the profile. Trying to think how this would be different to our sales channel. I guess the thing is that you only post what you want to sell, not what you want to buy, and that you already have price there in a structured way. Um, there was always an idea that you could do post on sales channel in some sort of structured manner that people can only click on it and send contract. Maybe it's an option. Question from Lion of Judah. Hallelujah. Can there be product time mini games to keep us busy playing while waiting for products to complete? Would be able to gain money to raise capital, need portfolio keeping track. I don't know. There were ideas of mini games. I'm not a big fan. Like, I think it would distract us from working on game features of sim companies that matter. And when you're on your phone and you're bored, I'm sure you have a lot of mini games you can do there. So I don't know whether we'll come up with something better than that. Um, I don't want to do like a shitty mini game that people would just do to get a little bit of sim boost or something. That doesn't seem appealing to me. A question from Astia. Sending contracts, buyer can pay when they choose and sometimes not buy it. Could there be a way to improve this with some kind of contract and the buyer must pay a penalty for non-payment? This is sort of what we were discussing with the future contracts, and again, we couldn't make it work in a way that players would be excited. But yeah, this was the basic idea that you would have locked in a seller or buyer, and you could use that to basically plan properly. Uh, Johannes de Souza asked, any ideas on group chats in game? Yeah, would be great. Difficult to implement, wasn't a priority so far. Maybe in the future. Yeah, we're running a little bit over an hour. Let's do 5 more questions, and then we can close it up, I guess. I see Caluana thanking the Brazilian moderators. I agree totally. I think in general we have amazing moderation team. I'm very happy and thank you for your work. You're helpful, and I think the community sees that. Question from Post Tenebras Lux. If you could go back in the game development journey, what would you do differently? Well, many things. Um, Yeah, I think the most noticeably, I wouldn't add NFTs into the game. That was a lot of time wasted, and then there was more time wasted when we were getting them out. And what I also probably would do differently is I would put it on the Google and Apple store much sooner. That helped the game a lot. And I'm sure as we go along, I'm gonna learn more things that I could have done differently. A lot of the things you don't know up front, like sometimes we think that okay, we do this and that's gonna help registrations a lot. Or for example, there was an idea that that people have were struggling coming up with company name. So one of our engineers wrote the generator. So if you don't want to think of company name, you just click generate and it comes up with something that looks like a meaningful company name. And we did this, and a lot less people were playing. Basically, they got through that part, but then they dropped, and this was counterintuitive. But this is why we measure that basically. And the thing is that if you invest the mental energy to come up with company name, you are more likely to stay playing the game. So what I'm trying to say is that with game development, you have ideas, you put them in, and then a lot of the time you realize that that actually did not help. And something like adding game to the Google Store, in hindsight, was the best thing we did, but we did not know that upfront. And for example, we added the game to the Microsoft Store, and that was waste of time. So we have like 3 or 4 registrations a day, which is great. I mean, it's more players than nothing, but it took some time, so we could have used that that engineering more efficiently. So we're learning as we go along, and you don't know these things up front. Have you ever thought about product skins to be both with sim boost, basically create hair shape package, just the skin with no benefits, just fin? But the question is, who would see that? Like only me? Um, maybe to me the skins, to me, people want to buy skins if others see that they have them. Not sure how this would work. Transformation and Post Tenebars Lux is asking if there is any time. What is your proudest achievement to date regarding the gamer community? Um, well, I guess I guess the proudest moment was first time I saw that this game was alive. That I got organic registrations. That was at the very beginning, but the first time I mobile ring and I got an email that somebody registered that wasn't my relative, or a colleague. That was an amazing feeling. That was at the very beginning. And I want to thank you all for this journey. Uh, it's been a blast so far, and I'm sure it's gonna be going forward. I think sim companies would be a lot better after these retail modeling changes and the seasonal industries. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm glad that there's community like you, that there are players who are uh, that you are supporting me, the team, and the game, and that you love this project. Thank you. And yeah, just if you have more questions, if there's something else we did not discuss, then you can PM me in the game. The name is Patrik, and I'm available. Thank you, and good night, good day. Bye bye.